In this lesson, we'll demonstrate how to use profiles to manage MotionAI. Depending on when your MB shipped, you may already have these profiles on your unit. Since some customers do not, this is a great exercise we can use to not only demonstrate how to create and assign profiles, but to leave you with something practical you can use afterwards. We'll do this by creating two profile groups, one that enables or disables MotionAI and the other that controls its strength. While we could combine enabling MotionAI and the strength level into one profile group, keeping them separate provides more flexibility for future configurations, such as the flexibility to switch between running MotionAI at two different output frame rates. That's beyond the scope of this lesson, however. Let's go ahead and get started. For the sake of time, I'll create just two profiles for controlling the strength, one for low and one for high. You can easily follow the same actions we cover here to add all the strengths or just the ones that matter to you. We'll start on the profile menu you see here. First, we'll press the green button while on the left side of this menu to add a new profile group called MotionAI On-Off. By default, the MB adds a blank default profile 1 to the group. We'll use this profile to turn MotionAI on. So let's rename it to On. I'll do this by pressing the yellow button while it's highlighted. I'll also activate this profile by selecting it. This won't have any effect now, but will cause MotionAI to turn on in just a bit once we set up the profile accordingly. While we're at it, let's also add MotionAI Strength Profile Group, where we'll create our profiles to change between low and high strength. Note that if I press the green button here, it would create a new profile inside of the MotionAI On-Off group. But what we want is a new profile group, not a new profile. If you're ever unsure which button to use, check the context-sensitive help. As you can see here, it shows that pressing green will create a new profile. Notice how yellow can be used to rename a profile or profile group. Now, let's go back to the left side of the profile menu, since profile groups need to be created from this spot. Notice how the context-sensitive help shows that pressing green from this location will create a new group. Let's do that and call it MotionAI Strength. Once again, we have our blank default profile. Let's rename that to Low. Now we'll press green again to create a second profile in the group for High Strength. I'll select High so this profile is activated, but again, this won't have any effect yet. Okay, now that we defined our profile groups and profiles, let's head over to the MotionAI and deinterlacing menu. We won't discuss the purpose of these settings as we've already covered that in our lesson on MotionAI configuration. First, let's set the MotionAI settings as desired. In this case, I'll enable MotionAI for movies, sports, and the kaleidoscope. Next, we'll save these settings to the MotionAI On profile we created earlier. We'll do this by pressing the yellow button on any of these changed settings and then select the profile, like this. As you can see, the active settings show that MotionAI is configured as desired. Notice how the settings we stored in the profile are all marked with the Prof tag. This indicates that the settings are being controlled by a profile. Further, let's go to the bottom where the profile bar is. As I cycle through the options, you can see that I have base settings, active settings, and now the MotionAI On-Off settings. Notice how the settings controlled by this profile are marked as set. This indicates that these menu items are being controlled by that profile. These concepts do not sound familiar? please revisit our previous lessons on profiles. Should you ever wish to modify the settings on a profile, you can change the setting in the Active Settings view and then save it to the same profile again. Or you can select the profile in the profile bar, like we've done here, instead of having base or active settings selected. Then you can make the changes directly to the menu items to affect the profile. For instance, if we didn't want to have sports active for this profile, we can just turn sports to off here without any need to save the setting to a profile, since the profile is selected in the profile bar instead of active settings. Okay, let's make sure this is working as expected. Let's go back to the profile menu and turn MotionAI to off. This works. You'll see the screen go black for a second as the outgoing signal resyncs to the lower frame rate. Let's take a look at the outgoing frame rate to confirm it's back to 24p. And indeed it is. Okay, let's turn MotionAI back on. And checking the outgoing frame rate, we see that indeed it's at 60p, as configured for MotionAI. Next, let's configure the MotionAI strength profiles, starting with the low profile. Just change the look to low, press yellow to save it to a profile, and then select the low profile under MotionAI strength. Now, did you notice how our look setting has reverted right back to the base setting of balanced, even though we just set it to low? That's expected because balance is a base setting and we haven't activated the low profile yet. Let's do that. Now when we return to the MotionAI and deinterlacing menu, we can see that the look is set to low. And further, the prof tag tells us that it's set this way because of a profile. Let's go ahead and set up the profile for high the same way as we did for low, but of course, saving it to the high profile. Notice again that the look setting reverted to low. That's because the low profile is selected. Let's change it to high and double check that it's working. And as you can see here, indeed, it is now selected as high. Remember that you can always review what profiles are assigned to a menu and what settings of profiles control in that menu page by scrolling to the profile bar. Notice as I scroll through, you can see all your profiles and their settings as indicated by the set tag. If you want to remove any of these profiles from the menu, you can press the red button when that profile is selected in the profile bar, or you can delete the profile entirely from the profile menu, which will delete it from all menus. In this case, the profile is only assigned here, but in more advanced cases, a profile can span multiple menu pages. Now, as a bonus, let's go one step further to see how we could assign the low and high strength profiles to remote control keys so we can quickly switch MotionAI strengths on the fly while watching content. Let's go to the remote control configuration menu. In this example, we'll assign low to the red colored key and the high strength to the green key. To do this, select red, then select activate profile and select our MotionAI strength of low. Next, we'll repeat this for green, assigning that to the high strength. Now, let's test this out. First, we need to close the menu because these colored buttons have different actions when a menu is open. Now, when we press the red button, notice this little message that MotionAI strength is set to low. Let's take a peek at the MotionAI menu. Here we see our strength is set at low. Now, let's close this menu and press green. Notice our little message that says MotionAI has been set to high. And let's bring up that menu. As we can see, indeed, the strength is now set to high. Creating and managing profiles does have a learning curve, but once you get the hang of it, we're sure you'll find it to be an invaluable and powerful tool. Okay, now that you've learned more about creating and managing profiles, it's time to move on to our next lesson.